This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
As a chef, I know flavor doesn't begin in the kitchen. It begins on the land. And Westhome's nature-led Australian Wagyu is a story written in the landscape of Northern Australia. Cooking is storytelling, and Westhome Wagyu carries a story of Northern Australia itself. Raw, powerful, and deeply authentic. It's a testament to the passion and care raised in the rhythm of Northern Australia. I'm Chef Maylin from 88 Club in Los Angeles, and I invite you to visit westhome.com/Maylin to learn more. And taste a story only Westhome nature-led Australian Wagyu can tell. That's westhome.com/MEILIN.
Hey, Stackers, welcome back to a rare, very rare second episode in one day of the Stacky Benjamin Show. And Doug, I can see the look in your eye. You're like, let's get this recorded because I just want to get a breakfast burrito.
I can't even think anymore, dude. I just, like in the cartoons where there's the two, like the penguin and the something else in the life raft, and they just see the other one as food. That's all. I'm looking at you, and I just see a giant burrito for your face.
There was a Simpsons I was watching the other day where Grandpa Simpson was recounting a story when he was in the war, and he got stranded on an island with Mr. Burns. They were both like fighter pilots, and it was a holiday episode, so they ran into Santa Claus. That's how they were rescued. Anyway, Grandpa Simpson is talking about how he had been on the island so long, even Mr. Burns was looking good, and it like turned Mr. Burns into like this bikini model. And he turns out, he goes, "Eyes up here, sailor." It was just like the best Mr. Burns voice ever. It was like, that was so great.
Well, we're finishing up our holiday week with episode 2 of our 2-part series with Alex Hormozi. Happy holiday season, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our special holiday extravaganza week and a half of programming. Monday, we are back in the basement making magic for 2026. All right, Doug, you get to go get your burrito. The rest of us, Alex Hormozi, part 2.
I look out my window and I see my neighbor, Doug. Poor, lazy, deplorable Doug.
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's a special edition of the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and on today's show, part 2 of our discussion with a guy who makes millions and helps others make millions, Alex Hormozi. On Wednesday, we built the foundation, and today we'll share more tactics to build your income in 2025. And now, 2 guys who are honed in and ready to help you stack more Benjamins. It's Joe and OG. I'm running out of breath. And nothing left.
Welcome to the guy who needs to maybe do a little bit more cardio.
I did that whole thing on 1 tank of air.
Hey, Stackers, happy New Year. If this is your first time with us in 2025, I may advise you to first go back and listen to part 1 of this episode. But for those of you who are going to push through, maybe you're out on a run or snowshoeing, or you're in the shower and you can't get to the rewind, but I don't know.
Don't make it weird, Joe.
All the reasons why you're going to start with this episode. Let's set the stage. I went out to Las Vegas to interview Alex Hormozi, who is a guy who went from 0 to $26 million by the end of year 2 working. And he now makes hundreds of millions of dollars. And we are obviously, if you read the title of this, going to teach you to make a lot more money. Maybe it's not $100 million like the title says, but we're going to get you way on your way. And I think, OG, we already set the stage there that this is all about just reframing your thinking, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the difference between $100,000 income and $200,000 and $300,000 and $500,000 has something to do with skill and ability, but it has a lot more to do with your ability to recognize that you have the ability to do those skills. It's obviously contingent on other people recognizing your ability to do those skills in a lot of cases, but a lot of times it's the stuff that's between your ears, thinking like, I can do this. I have the ability to make this happen in my life. Now I just have to figure out how I'm going to do those things, as opposed to having the limiting beliefs of, well, only those types of people can make those types of decisions or make that kind of money.
Yeah. And some of the highlights from the first half of this episode to me are this idea of skill stacking by thinking to yourself, what are the skills that I'm going to need to succeed, and going and getting them. Really, OG, setting up your own curriculum. Don't wait for your boss to do it. Don't wait for the universe to do it. Spend a little bit of money. And what did he call it? The S and me versus the S and P. Sure, you want to invest in the S&P 500 as you're throwing off money, but you certainly want with your career to invest in SME.
You're the only thing that can have exponential returns. The market is going to have great returns. If you invest your money, you're going to get 10%. That's what we know the S&P to return over history. So that's great, but that's not 100x or 100 times returns or 10x or 100x or whatever. The 100x, 10x, big giant leaps are going to happen from the stuff that you do.
And then second for me was this idea that what's the one thing I can do? What's the one thing that will eliminate 5 other things that are suboptimal? Mm-hmm. If I can simplify my life, then and I'm constantly just working on this one thing that makes my life easier, I think that is a huge piece. And then the third, OG, and this is where we left off on this idea of risk. Do things other people think are risky, but because you're an expert in them, there's not nearly the risk for you that there would be for other people.
Again, I think this just boils down to reframing things in your mind. Doug made a great point at the end of the first episode, which was, we think that the W-2 job is super secure, but it has risk too. It's just a different kind. And as long as you recognize that you're taking some amount of risk in virtually all your decisions that you do, I think you're a step ahead in kind of conquering maybe a little bit of that fear.
We have some sponsors that make sure that this is all free while you're on your journey to make more money. We're going to hear from them, and then we are diving into Alex Hormozi Part 2. Spring cleaning's made its way to my closet. This time of year always makes me rethink exactly what's in my closet. Really want to keep fewer things, but I also want to keep better ones. I want to feel confident, and to feel confident, looking the part's a big piece of that. So I want pieces that are well made and that are easy to wear all the time. And that's why I keep coming back to Quince. The fabrics feel elevated. The fits are thoughtful. Pricing actually makes sense. As I'm swapping out and I'm cutting, the few additions I'm making all come from Quince. Quince makes high quality everyday essentials using premium materials like 100% European linen. They're insanely soft, flow knit activewear fabric. Their men's linen pants and shirts are lightweight, they're breathable, they're comfortable. Basically, the perfect layer for spring. The pants strike the right balance between laid back and refined. If you saw the video of me on stage at Retire Meet, those pants are from Quince. It was really cool. I came off stage and Christine Benz from Morningstar getting ready to go on behind me and said, "Love your pants." Not generally. I absolutely love them. I think they make me look put together without trying too hard. And they're flow knit activewear, moisture wicking, anti-odor, soft enough that you'll actually want to wear it all day. The best part is their prices. This is important, stackers. They are 50 to 60% less than similar brands. How? Quince works directly with ethical factories, cuts out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality, not brand markup. Everything's designed to last and make getting dressed easy, which is another thing I think we all want. I love those pants that I wore on stage. It's the cashmere sweater that every time I wear it, Cheryl goes, "That is my favorite sweater on you." It looks great, feels great, and I don't have to have 50 things in my closet. So, like I am, refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/SB for free shipping and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too. Go to QUINCE.com/SB for free shipping and 365-day returns, quince.com/SB. You may not know that when we started Stacking Benjamins, it was a blog. And even then, just the startup cost, I remember thinking, is this the right thing? And what if I write things and nobody comes, right? Well, luckily, that didn't end up happening. But starting something new isn't just hard. It's terrifying. There's so much work. You're not sure whether it's going to work out. You're not sure if anybody's going to read it. And then we change it to a podcast. Is anybody actually going to listen, right? What if nobody wants all the stuff that we have? Well, had I used Shopify, it would have been even easier, because with their expertise, their helpful tools, and their easy to use platform, that's something that would have made Stacking Benjamins more effective much, much more quickly. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Names you've heard of like Heinz and Mattel, Shopify, Gymshark, Aviator Nation, Allbirds, also all Shopify. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. And did I mention that iconic purple Shop Pay button? It's used by millions of businesses around the world. It's why Shopify has the best converting checkout on the planet. It also helps boost conversions, meaning less carts going abandoned and more sales for you. So you're stacking Benjamins much more quickly. Time to turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/SB. Go to shopify.com/SB. That's shopify.com/SB. For those of you that missed part one, what we're doing today is parsing this interview with Alex because it's so dense with good stuff. Alex also has a tendency to speak to entrepreneurs because that is his core audience. However, this all applies to people working a 9-to-5 job as much as it applies to entrepreneurs. That's why OG and I are going out to my previously recorded interview in Las Vegas and then pausing it, and we're breaking it down for you so that you can see how, even though you might think this doesn't apply to you at first, 95% of this, I think, applies to all of us if you're looking to increase your income. All right, let's go back out to Las Vegas and me and Alex Hormozi. We did a story back in the fall of last year, looking at a wonderful piece where the person that wrote it said, we all look at risk in our investment portfolio, but we don't look at risk through the lens of our career, which is exactly what you're saying. I'm very comfortable in my 9-to-5 job, making $60,000 a year. I wonder why I don't have any money. And it's because my damn stocks and my 401k aren't going up. When the truth is, you should probably be out there learning negotiation.
And right now, you're probably paying $1 million a year in ignorance debt.
Yeah.
It's the debt that you pay to the universe for not knowing.
I love that tough love messaging, kind of the Gordon Ramsay. Like, just sometimes we need it, though. I said, seriously, here at the start of the year, like, I love having those people in my corner, which actually, that's a good pivot, Alex, because we spoke to Seth Godin back in October. And I asked Seth about mentorship. And you've talked before in your books that I've read that you've had mentors. Seth gave me a really surprising answer. He goes, mentorship is tough because there's not much in it for the mentor. Is it much more about finding coaches and, to your point, paying them through the curriculum? Or is there a way to find mentors that maybe the great Seth Godin doesn't know?
Oh, it's tough. Okay, so I'm going to split this into two parts. So one, if you have nothing, then you usually have nothing to offer. So go save up your shekels and then pay somebody to learn stuff. When I wanted to learn...
Meaning you've got nothing to trade. I'm just going to Alex and going, hey, man, can I learn from you?
Yeah, I had a guy, I get stopped a lot and people are like, hey, let me take your coffee for you. Like,
well, that surprises me. No, I'm kidding.
I have 4 executive assistants who are all incredibly capable. I have people to take my coffee for me that aren't going to then think, I got you a coffee, teach me.
Right.
So that values my time at $3. No. And I understand that the person who says that, the reason they say that is because they don't understand the value of time and they don't understand value exchange to begin with, which is why they're poor to start with. So I get that. But yes, you save up your shekels and then you buy skills. And when I say that, I'm a huge believer in one-on-one tutoring. When I needed to learn Facebook ads at a more advanced level, I went to an agency owner and I said, hey, can you do the ads for me? And he said a lot of money and I couldn't afford it at the time. So I said, well, how about I'll just pay you hourly to teach me. He's like, well, I don't sell my time. And I said, well, it's America. Everybody sells their time. I said, just tell me how much. And so he said $750 an hour. And so it's a huge amount for me, right? And so I said, okay. And so I recorded everything. I said, the only deal is that you can't touch the keyboard.
But wait, but can I stop you right there? The key thing here is that you didn't take no for an answer, because I feel like a lot of the time he goes, hey, this huge amount of money. And what do 95% of us do, Alex?
Oh, no.
We walk out of the room. I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's somebody else's fault.
One of my favorite questions to ask when you want something is, what would it take? Because it assumes yes. What would it take? I won't let you marry my daughter. What would it take? What do I have to do? Because then they give you an equation, then you can just solve it. And it's probably my number one strategy for negotiation too. Like when you go in for and ask for the raise, don't say like, I would like to make $180,000. Say, what would it take for me to make 180 grand a year here? Like, what would I have to do? And then you can make the assessment of whatever the equation they give you. If you think that's reasonable, or it's, you can do it. To the caveat of spending money on tutors, coaching, whatever, I'm a huge advocate. I mean, I'm a product of that. On the other hand, with the mentorship thing, I've had very few unpaid mentors. I have had people who spotted me as a rising star and wanted to develop a relationship with me because they thought I would get at their level or pass them. That's honestly what's happened in my life. The piece that people miss is they try and go to Elon Musk and say, hey, can you mentor me for free? He's 100 levels above you. Try and go to a local business owner who's 1 or 2 levels ahead of you, and then ask there you can provide more value to them. That guy might be able to say, sure, you can take my coffee, right? Because he doesn't have anybody to take his coffee. So he does have a deficiency that low skill labor will solve. But the higher up you go, the higher you have to trade skilled labor and higher skilled labor in order to get your foot in the door.
I want to stop him right there, because I think this is a really important concept, OG. And how many times have you been asked for mentorship? I've been asked for mentorship by somebody who wants to, quote, get you coffee, or just wants to pick your brain for a moment. Yeah. When you're at an industry conference, wants to go out to dinner. There's a person I know that just wants to go to dinner and then pepper me with questions about how I can make her life easier, which truly, I'm not a quid pro quo kind of person, but I'm busy. Right. Alex is busy. You've got these things that you're working on. Like, that's why Seth Godin said that mentorship there's nothing in it for the mentor.
I think it's kind of interesting. Yeah. Doug's going to jump in here too, because he's got some experience there. But I think that the further up the food chain that you go, the more you have to recognize that the time that you have has to be used on ultra productive activities. And part of the problem, I don't even know that it's a problem, but one of the things that I think you face, Joe, one of the things that I face is when people ask you for help, which is basically what they're saying, right? In some roundabout way, could you help me do this thing? Could you help me be better at this thing that I suck at? I think if you've got some amount of, a little bit of heart, you want to help, right? And you're like, I can probably do a little time, and you feel somewhat obligated to do that. What I heard him say was, no, get out of my way. I have people for this. I don't need your $3 an hour conversation. And very ungracefully, and I'm sure he's okay with that, saying, I'm 100 levels above you, like his example of Elon Musk.
Can we stop right there for a second with Elon Musk too? Because the other thing that strikes me is, if you're asking Hormozi for help, the reason why you and I are parsing this episode is because so much of it seems so dense and seems like it wouldn't help you. That idea with the guy who's a level or 2 ahead of you, or the woman who's a level or 2 ahead of you, they will be able to help you because you're going to make a connection, because they're closer to doing the stuff that you're doing now. And they can help show you the way to level up 3 levels right now. Hormozi's going to have a hell of a time trying to help you level up 100 levels in an hour over
Well,
coffee.
To be fair, a lot of those resources that he already has the manual for levels 1 through 50, right? It's his book, it's his ebook, it's his course. It's, there's ways to interact with his thinking that doesn't require buying him coffee. Same thing with Elon Musk. And frankly, the same thing at any level. Honestly, I have a group. I'm thinking about this in the context of the group of friends that are business owners, firm owners like us. And there's some people that are a little bit ahead of us. There's people that are a lot a bit ahead of us. There's people that are, there's 8 of us together, right? And we're all good friends, but we're all in different stages in terms of our business and in terms of our growth plan and what we want to do and that sort of thing. But I think that is a fair mutual exchange of ideas and conversation, because we're all striving for the same thing. And some people are a little ahead and behind in different areas. Whereas if I did that, hey, Joe, I'm starting a podcast. Can you help me? you're like, that's so broad based. I don't even know where to start. Like, do you need help picking technology? Do you need help picking a theme? Do you need help finding an editor? Do you need help scripting? Like, I don't know where you are. But if we're in a room with podcasters who've been doing it 5 or 10 years, we're not at the same level, but we're all kind of there, been there, done that a little bit. And maybe one person.
We also may be ahead of each other in different aspects. I might be better than them at creation. They might be better at marketing.
Exactly. So that's a really great solution to this. Like, how do you find this network? You can, just try to build it your own. But if you're in an organization, Doug disagrees vehemently. I can tell the anger on his face.
This whole thing is pissing me off.
Why?
Well, let me just finish real quick. I think if you're in an organization, work with the people that are around you and a level or two above and a level or two behind. I don't know that you go to the CEO and ask for mentorship. You know what I mean? But you can ask your manager. You can ask your manager's manager, or put that group together and say, hey, there's 10 of us and we're all kind of on the same path, different offices, that sort of thing. Now, take everything I said, Doug, and throw it in the trash and tell me why.
I mean, it's this whole notion that I'm too busy and I'm way too far above you and ahead of you. My time is too valuable is the most selfish thing that I can think of hearing. I've been asked to be a mentor a few times. I'd like it to be more. It's an incredible compliment, and I'm really gratified by even being asked. I love and get an enormous value out of being able to share any kind of personal or professional experience I have with somebody who's looking to learn, especially a young person. It's just really gratifying for me, and it always has been. Now, what I will say occasionally to folks, sometimes I've said it up front, and other times I've had to say it a little bit further down the line, is I really like doing this, spending this time with you in a true sort of mentor-student, mentor-mentee context, not as a business networking thing. Because then it absolutely does feel like it's a one-sided, only truly benefiting one person. If they're really trying to get to me because they want my Rolodex, they want my contact book. I can't use Rolodex anymore. It's too old. I didn't even ever have a Rolodex in my lifetime.
Your file of facts.
I had one. It was just fun to spin it.
Yeah, it's fun to watch the paper float.
Yeah, I didn't really use it much. I just spun it.
Yeah, that's crappy. And when you get 4 meetings in and then the person says, can you introduce me to, do you know anybody who might, that's annoying, because then it really feels like this whole thing was much more one-sided all along. So I usually get that out of the way up front. And then if it's truly just a, what can you share with me? I get so much out of that. To say there's nothing in it for me is horse. That is really, I'm disappointed to hear that notion.
I think we got to go to the through line here, Doug, of why we heard the same thing from Seth Godin, who clearly is incredibly successful, and Alex Hormozi, who very much, he didn't say, I agree with Seth, but he agrees with Seth. He said the same thing to me that Seth Godin said. So if these two ultra successful people are saying it, what's the point? The point is, I think much more, if I'm seeking free mentorship, you have to realize how little there is ostensibly in it for the mentor. Maybe for me, there is something in it, but that's for me. That's not for you to assume when you come up to me that this is going to be all glorious. And hey, Joe, you're going to love this. You're going to love working with me because it is stellar. It's awesome.
I don't need to, that is not incumbent on me or dependent on me to know your attitude towards this. If I admire you and think that you're somebody that I want to mirror and my progression, I'm going to take a shot at it.
I think Hormozi nails it. Value people's time fairly. And he likes paying for knowledge. He likes paying for knowledge. I think paying for knowledge in the way that suits you best, however you're going to pay for it, creates an exchange on the mentee's part that makes it valuable for everybody. Why am I going to come in and offer zero value in a relationship and just expect that that's going to go well versus come in with value?
You never learned from a student of yours?
But that's on me, Doug. That's not on the mentee. I'm thinking the mentee gets a hell of a lot more value by thinking about approaching this relationship from the point of what can I bring to the table? Godin says you're bringing nothing to the table. Hormozi says you're bringing nothing to the table. Figure out how to bring something to the table. Hormozi says figure out how to pay for it. At the time, $750 was a lot of money, but he paid for it. He's like, yes, I want to know this thing. Now, what else is cool too is it's less about mentorship than it is, I need this skill. Notice how Hormozi on Wednesday, and then again today, is going back to not, I want you to mentor me. It's, I want you to teach me this specific skill that I need. I want this specific
thing. That makes it transactional. And I don't think mentor-mentee relationships need to be transactional. It's about giving back. I've had a lot of mentors that I learned from, and I probably got more out of the relationship than they did. So now it's my time to add balance, and my mentee is going to get more, hopefully, more out of it than I did.
Walk in and assume that that's what I'm going to get out of it when I have a limited amount of time is BS. And I have had too many people waste my time in something that was supposedly going to be just, a great mentor relationship. I could go into those, but some of those people might be listening to this show and I don't want to offend them.
Too late. They're all wondering right now.
I'm sorry, Joe, for the 10th time. I'm sorry that I asked you to mentor me. You don't have to out me like that. I think that it's okay for it to be transactional. I also respect the fact that Seth Godin and Alex Hormozi are at a profoundly different level than I am, or Joe, or even Doug is in terms of professional status, so to speak. That doesn't mean that, what you guys offer are any better or worse for different people. But I do respect the idea that if he just said, oh yeah, it is about giving back, like his inbox would be so overwhelmed with, like, he has to set some value on that, some amount. There's just not enough hours in the day to help everybody. But if you don't have the $750 an hour and you still need this skill, there's platforms for this that you can get all of these knowledge things or all of these resources. Something as simple as Masterclass, which is, I don't even know how much it is now, $100 a year or $200 a year. You can pick through, here are the things that I want to learn about, and they're constantly updating, so it doesn't have to be like an all or nothing value proposition. I either get Alex Hormozi or I'm screwed. I either get Bob Iger to teach me about leadership or I'm screwed. There's a middle ground. You can buy his book. I've got Alex's book right here on my desk. You can watch the podcast episode. You can, use the platform like Masterclass or Skillshare or whatever the case may be, and have some sort of combo plan along the way, which makes it a little bit easier. But the thing is that you have to identify, it's on you. You can't just show up to Masterclass and hit play. You have to go, I need to learn how to X. And then who's the person? How do I get them? Okay, I can't afford Hormozi because he's a freaking $1 million an hour. I can afford Doug because he's $1 an hour.
That's before discounts.
And you got to figure out where that skill is, who has it, how do I get it? And sometimes the answer is I get it digitally. Sometimes I show up at Doug's house and say, hey, you're really good at this. I think the big lesson for me here is that you have to respect that other person. And one of the challenges that I think young people, I think some people have, is not recognizing that Alex's time is quote unquote worth more than my time in his eyes, right? In Alex's eyes, he's like, I'm billing $1 million an hour. And I'm going to him going, I'm billing $800 an hour. I'm billing $8 an hour. I could go talk to Alex in line at the coffee shop. And he's like, dude, nope. I make $1 million an hour, bro. This has got to be worth it. Now, maybe you get that opportunity, like Doug said, to give back or whatever the case may be, but I don't know that you can go into it expecting that. So
I think that's a different calculation. I think it's a whole different thing.
Find the skill that you want and then work through it to figure out the best way to acquire that skill. I mean, there's 10,000 ways to get Facebook ad skills, for example.
And 2 more points here. Number 1 is early in the conversation on Wednesday, early in this entire conversation, he talked about calculating your dollars per hour. And then if you start thinking about dollars per hour that you have, I think you get this sense of, if your goal is to make more money, the leveling system that he's using, right? I don't necessarily think that means Alex Hormozi, just to be clear, is a better human being than Joe Saul-Sehy is. It just means that when it comes to me trying to gain that skill that he already has, he is light years ahead of me on that skill. The second thing, though, that I think is really important here is we talked about the importance of negotiation. This isn't just about gaining skills. It's about being able to negotiate. And I want to reiterate what I said to him in Vegas, which is he didn't take no for an answer. When the guy goes, yeah, it's not for sale. Well, yes, it is. I love that. I think that it's just not taking no and saying, what will it take? What will it take? I agree with him there too. Is a wonderful, wonderful question to ask.
So it's like you need to just have this tool belt of skills that you can bring to the table so that you can provide outsized returns to somebody.
I think the next step then would be to realize that relationship from the beginning is not meant to be permanent. Like you learn what you can in 6 hours, 6 weeks, whatever it is, and you need to move on.
Yeah, and I think that's okay. And I think, honestly, the biggest way that I learned skills that I don't think I even talk about this is I had one skill in the beginning. I knew how to sell. I just went to everyone and was like, I can help you sell more. And so I joined a network way back in the day with like 100 entrepreneurs in it. I just went to every one of them and said, hey, I can help you with your sales process.
It's like a BNI kind of thing?
Yeah, or I don't know, BNI. It's like a networking
business
thing.
network,
yeah, exactly. Same type of thing. You had to pay to get in, but whatever.
Sure, right.
Everyone was like, okay, sure. And so I would hop on. But the thing was is that I did the work as though they had paid me. And so I thought, okay, if this person had paid me $10,000 or $20,000 to make a super comprehensive sales plan and improvement for them, what would I do? Right. And so I did that level of work, and I would work for 3 hours, 5 hours, a whole day, so that when I talked to them for 30 minutes, they're like, holy crap, I can't believe this guy did this. And then at the end of the call, they would say something like, dude, this is way too much. I can't believe you did. Like, what can I do for you? Dude, like, and I'd be like, you know how to run Facebook ads. Show me that.
Come to the table with something.
Right. And so and the thing is like, I didn't trade it. I gave it. And then if they asked, then I was like, actually, really, if you could show me how to build a landing page. And I didn't know how to build a webinar. There was a lady in the thing that knew how to build webinars, and I helped her with their sales team. And then I was like, can you help me build a webinar? She said, sure. And then there was another guy who was really good at email. And I was like, I don't know how to send email. I was like, but I can help you with your sales. So I did the sales. And so barter, I think, is wildly underutilized. And so I learned so many skills from that network because I just looked at everybody there and I was like, what does everyone here have that I don't? And so I just went shopping, and I just shopped via barter. And I think this is so underused because everyone's afraid of, what if I give them something and they don't give anything back? Great, you just help somebody. And what I like to do is like, I'm a collector of IOUs. I'm happy to get there at the very end, and they're like, what can I do for you? And I'm like, nothing, man, just happy to help. They're like, that guy's awesome. Because the amount of deals that I've done 2 years later, calling somebody up, being like, hey, I need a distributor for supplements, and I know you know somebody in that space. They're like, got you. Don't worry about it. Because I did such a big favor for them before that they're like, this is the easiest thing I can do. But the amount of lubrication for getting things done, that having a network of IOUs, this big stack of checks that I can cash in at any time, has been invaluable for me. And especially when I had less money in the beginning, it was all I did. I got voted the person of the year for that community because I helped all of them. And then I was the one who was better off because it was kind of like, there was a show back in the day called Heroes where like, one of the main characters could absorb other heroes' skills.
I forgot about
Peter Petrelli.
NBC, I think.
Yeah. And so I saw it like that, which is like, if you can join a network, then it's like, I'm just going to absorb everyone's skills. And so I think also if you work in an organization, instead of saying, hey, I'm going to go to finance and ask them to teach me finance, go and teach them stuff. And then let them say, do you have any, like, what can I do for you? And you're like, dude, if you could show me how you do these financials, that'd be really helpful. Or like, hey, you go to the content guys, and you're like, hey, how do you edit videos? Can you show me? And if you do something for them first, they're very likely to help you out.
Leading with the gift, OG, that gives, I love the idea of a stack of IOUs. All these people feel like, man, I owe this guy big time. I mean, the goodwill he's spreading around this BNI group by doing this work. I think, though, I want to caution people here. I think you still got to be intentional. Like, it's clear that Hormozi is intentional about this, right? He knows where he's going. He knows what he's building. I've seen people do all kinds of free work for people, and, that doesn't put any food on the table. But if you clearly have a mission where I'm doing this to receive this skill in the future, then I think that makes a ton of sense.
Well, there's two things here. One is kind of that law of reciprocity, which is you do something for somebody else wants to do something for you. That's just kind of how the world has existed for a long time. But I also think that if you go into it with that sort of, commission breath type of thing, then people will see through it. Kind of like what Doug was saying about his mentorship relationships, where all of a sudden it's like, hey, by the way, I know you know this one guy, and I've got an investment idea I need to run by him. Can you hook me up? People will see through that pretty quickly. If you're going to use this approach, you have to go into it fully okay with not getting anything in return and not getting the thing that you want out of it.
100%.
Yeah, I can tactically go, well, I think Joe's really good at podcasting, but he sucks at this. So maybe if I help him, he'll turn on. But if you expect that, Joe will figure that out. You'll see it coming a mile away. And then you'll be disappointed and maybe a little even resentful. I think the thing that he said that I wrote down was, this person hired me for $10,000 or $20,000. What would I do? Like, they haven't paid me, but if they hired my top tier package, how would my deliverable look? Like, what would be the value that I would provide, assuming that they've already written the check? And if you have the ability to be excellent in an area like that, and you can leverage that skill for other people, the sky's the limit. the fact that more and more people will reciprocate, it's just kind of a self-feeding system. So, I mean, it's a great idea.
We are going to dive even more into tactics that Hormozi used. A couple of these ones that are coming up are just incredible. Dell PCs with Intel Inside are built for the moments you plan and the ones you don't. They're for those all-night study sessions, the moment you're working from a cafe and realize every outlet's taken, the times you're deep in your flow and can't be interrupted by an auto update. That's why Dell builds tech that adapts to you. Built with long-lasting batteries so you're not scrambling for an outlet, and built-in intelligence that makes updates around your schedule, not in the middle of it. Find technology built for the way you work at Dell.com/Dell PCs. Built for you.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
You know you need fiber for a healthy gut, but do you actually know how to get it? Quaker's been serving up fiber since 1877, with over 100 great-tasting, good source of fiber options to choose from. Whether you like old-fashioned oats, instant oatmeal, granola, or oatmeal squares, Quaker makes it delicious. So good. Get your fiber with Quaker. Shop Quaker's good source of fiber products at a store near you.
Hi, I'm Derek, and when I'm not working on the hook for Joe's mom's next greatest rap album, I'm stacking Benjamins, baby.
All right, let's head back out to Las Vegas and my interview with Alex Hormozi.
You've got a phenomenal way of presenting stuff. I love the fact that in all the works that you've done, you avoid jargon, which I appreciate very much. And as you know, in personal finance, Alex, that's so hard to do. I mean, we're talking, what the hell is a Roth IRA? What the hell is a 401k? Why don't we call it what the Canadians call it, like a retirement plan?
Sure, yeah.
One way you get around jargon is in using stories.
Yeah.
And a way you present this and a similar topic is to come at life like you're a drug dealer.
Yeah.
And I read that, like I'm sure a bunch of your audience read that, and I'm like, what? I don't know if I like it. And you're like, wait, hold on. Explain that thought process, because it really does make a ton of sense when you tell us what you're doing. And by the way, he ends this story in his audiobook by going, and make sure it's legal. Whatever you do, make sure it's legal.
The famous drug dealer offer is the first hit's free. We want to give away stuff that's so good that people, once they try it, they can't get enough of it and they want to come back.
And nobody wants to give away their best stuff, though.
Right. And I think, fundamentally, that's a scarcity perspective. All I can tell you is that what it feels like when you give away stuff that's truly valuable is there's a little bit of fear. I have to get to that point for myself still today, because just the things that I can give away now are more valuable than the stuff I could give away 10 years ago. But when you're afraid, it's because it's the best stuff you have. When it's the best stuff you have, it might just barely be good enough for someone to find valuable. And so the idea that somebody who's a novice is going to hold back on value when the value they have is probably not even that good to begin with. I think constantly giving away value, that's the most valuable thing I can give, has forced me to then backfill skill-wise and be like, well, what else do I need to learn so that I can give something even more valuable after that thing?
It puts fantastic pressure on you to make the curriculum even deeper.
You have to get
your
better.
Own curriculum.
Totally.
That is, it's such a powerful message. And it's funny because when I learned how to be a financial planner, and I haven't been one in a long time, salespeople taught me, no, hold your cards like this. Don't show anything until you give it away. And it was only when I started giving it away. So I was high-fiving you.
Oh,
yeah. You don't know that when I was reading it.
I think it's the difference between promotion and selling. Right. In sales, it's like you want to have things in your back pocket so that you can basically increase the price to value discrepancy in real time. Whereas to promote and attract people, you need to give something so valuable that they break their pattern of not paying attention to you and then direct their attention your way. And it's got to be, the subheadline of the book, $100 Million Offers, is how to make an offer so good people feel stupid saying no. It's not how to make a mediocre offer that looks like everybody else's in the marketplace. And most people do that. I had a bunch of business owners out here last week. A lot of them are like, I want to have an affiliate program. I want to have a program where other businesses can refer me business. And so I looked out at them and I was like, who here, raise your hand, gives 20% to people who refer you business? And almost all of them raised their hand. And I was like, cool. So why don't you guys do that? because it's not worth it. Why are you going to take this hard-earned customer that you spent all that time marketing, selling, delivering all this stuff, and then you're like, yeah, I'm just going to hand it to you for 20% of whatever you charge, right? Who cares, right? If you want to make, I'm just using this as a microcosm, but if you wanted to make an affiliate deal, I say, take your service, peel off a portion of it, one actual core service you have, give it to somebody else and say, you can sell it and keep all the money. And I'll deliver it. And then when you deliver it, what do you get? You get a paid lead. You get a lead who's literally already a customer. And so then upselling from there is obvious. And so that's like, there was to speak in finance terms, there's a friend of mine who has a very large bookkeeping company. And he gives away LLC incorporation. And I think
wow.
Yeah. And it's like, it costs whatever, hard cost on that. Market cost is a couple $100 usually to get that incorporated and whatnot. He could probably do it for $50 because of, internal systems or whatever. And so if you think about it like this, which is like, okay, his hard cost is $50 and he has to give it away to 3 people to get 1 customer. Okay, then his CAC's 150. And then he sells them bookkeeping services, business banking, cards, all these other things on the back end. A lot of people aren't willing to give away things for free because they don't do math. And so to your point earlier, like you have to come in with a giver's heart. I don't even know if I've come in with a giver's heart. I think I just come in with a math heart, which is like, okay, I will give to 100 people and I will be able to get 10 of these people to do something that will be worth more than the cost of giving to 100. And I think that's the piece that people miss, is that it's not about the 90 who don't give you anything. It's that what you make in the 10 makes you so much more than what you lost in the 100.
This is, OG, where this idea early on, the foundational stuff that we set, this idea of risk. There is risk in this approach. There's real risk that I am going to give away the best stuff that I have. And yet when you take that risk, at least it's what Hormozi is saying, it pays off over and over and over and over and over and over and over.
Ultimately, what I think about here is the part that he mentioned. It forces you to continually to get better. If you're trying, I'll just use, us as an example. If everything that we talk about on the show for the last 15 years is our best effort at trying to help whoever feels like listening, I honestly don't think that there's been a time that we've gone like, there's probably a better way, but we're not going to tell you that.
We're going to tell you the second best way for free. If you pay us, we'll pay you the best way.
Yeah, we just go here, solve this problem. Because I think from a belief system, you and I share this belief that fundamentally very smart people and very silly, dumb people can be successful with money. It's about systems and process. And if you build those things and follow it, you're good. At some point in time, you may choose to outsource some of those activities, and so be it. Good for you. If you do, great. If you don't, that's fine too. But it's not, you're not relying on, some wizard to make your life better financially. The stuff that we talk about with our clients individually, it's not fundamentally different than what we talk about on the show. In fact, a lot of times people are like, this is the same thing you talk about on Thursday or on Tuesday. I'm like, yeah, because this is what we do.
If it was different, that wouldn't be congruent. Like, I feel like people should expect it to be the same, just a deeper relationship.
Sure. Yeah. There's all the benefits of a personal relationship, but I'm saying once people get over that hurdle of just give away your best stuff, because, and I got this also from Strategic Coach, they give away their best stuff every quarter, right? They're like, here's our newest thinking. This is the most recent thing that we just thought up in terms of how to think about your business, how to have conversations around, relationships and creativity and value creation, whatever. It's like literally their best thinking. So what do they have to do? The next quarter, they have to go, we got to think up new stuff. And Dan writes books every quarter and goes, here's what I'm thinking about. You could take all those books and implement them all. Just do what's in the book. Or you can have a cohort of people that go through it with you. That's a different type of relationship. That doesn't make going to coach better or reading the books by yourself better. It's just, what's better for you in terms of where you're learning and, what you're working on in your life. So the abundance mindset of there's plenty of people to help if you're in a helping business. And honestly, I think anybody anywhere can basically say, I help people blank, right? Like I help people get coffee. I help people solve their money problems. I help people, solve their health problems. Like whatever is going on, you're helping people. And if you can figure out a way to give a bunch of that stuff to the DIYers of the world's better for it.
Let's talk about this in the 9-to-5 business world, because in this particular instance, he decided he's been good about sometimes giving us 9-to-5 examples. And this one, I don't think he was. I think he very much was talking to entrepreneurs and talking about, establishing this as an entrepreneur, how he helped other entrepreneurs. Let's put this back into 9-to-5 terminology, which I think is hugely important. The key here is, I think, long-term and not so obvious. Because when I was with American Express, you would see people that would suck up to the boss, that were just always the takers, were always the people that they weren't really performing as much as they were just putting on window dressing to be the cool kid so they could get the next promotion, the next raise. What Hormozi's talking about is, if you give away stuff to the people around you and you are that dig in, and I'm the expert and I'm giving your department something that I don't have to give you from my department. I don't really have to, but I'm going to help you out with that heart of a giver. All of a sudden you're going to have more people come to you. More people are coming to you. And then that rise, which Tom Peters always talks about in his management books, is then instead of being promoted from up top, there's a groundswell of people that are promoting you. You're getting promoted because everybody around you freaking loves working with you.
Yeah. Well, one of the challenging concepts to get your brain around is, how can you be a leader when you're not in a leadership role? Or how do you, if you are in a leadership role, how do you elevate yourself to the next leader? And you just said it, Joe. If you are that person who becomes a go-to because either you're willing to put in the effort, at least initially, at some point you'll start gaining knowledge so that you become the go-to person, not only because of the effort, but also because of the knowledge. It doesn't matter if you're getting a paycheck from somebody else or through your own entrepreneurial efforts. The way to go about it is exactly the same. It's easier, frankly, in a corporate environment because you've got your networking group built in. You didn't have to pay to go to a ballroom at a Hilton in Louisville.
Right. That he pays to be a part of the group.
Right. Your networking group is there for you. And it's just a matter of you over lunch or walking down the hallway saying, hey, I hear you're working on a pitch for, such and such a client. Can I help you out with that in any way? I'm pretty good at visual stuff, or I'm pretty good at, boiling a message down to the fewest pot, whatever you think your skill is. Sooner or later, they're going to be like, yeah, man, I'll take the help. This thing's due Monday morning.
Yeah. And who's going to be the go-to person the next time, Doug?
Right.
The next time after I helped you, when you're in a meeting then with your boss, you're going, oh yeah, Joe. Oh, Joe, you need to bring Joe in on this project, man. You should see how I rocked the last project.
Well, that's the other, I'm not sure if this is what you just said or not, but another side benefit is if you can say it without being slimy, you can say, when you're talking to your boss, I was helping out Steve with the pitch for, AC Delco, and he'll be like, wait, what were you working on? I mean, you got to be delicate about that. You don't want to be up, too self-congratulatory, but just letting other people know.
So you probably know this, but Steve sucks. So I got involved in it and fixed it.
I saved his ass.
Again.
I looked at that. God, you were part of that? I looked at that work. God, I had to spend the whole weekend getting that thing right.
I'm so great.
me.
Well, the goal here is to be the go-to guy or woman, and nobody wants that woman who's just the self-congratulatory.
Be useful.
Hey, yes.
Solve problems for people. Yeah. And the more that you can solve problems for people that are not immediately in your sphere, the better your name recognition is. If you're just the guy who solves problems, people like to have problems solved.
And remember, Alex said this was about negotiation, right? So we're stacking skills. At the beginning, we don't have many skills. So he's taking the one skill that he has and he's selling it like a drug dealer. The first hit's free. That forces him to be better and better so that he can get the paying gigs later and then be better than what he gave away for free later. So he's consistently working to be better. And then that becomes his negotiating, either implicit or explicit. This is his negotiation lever. Even though there's no explicit negotiation that I'm negotiating with Doug to get his work, Doug, I'm putting it out there that I'm really good at this. I'm showing him my work ahead of time. And then Doug comes to me. This still is negotiation, even though there's no explicit, he and I sitting at a table chatting about this.
I did it a little bit differently than what he was talking about. I would create the first problem for free and then come in to help Fix It also for free. You want to talk about a self-perpetuating business model. It's
Somebody
amazing.
effed this up. I don't know who it was.
Firefighting and fire starting.
Yes.
By Neighbor Doug.
It's genius.
It's the circle of life. Yeah. All right. Back to Las Vegas.
What's funny about that too is that people get to see his process. If he's selling the LLC, they get to work with him for free. They get to see a little microcosm of how he works. They get comfortable with that. It means he's got to have a good process. You fired up a lot of people today, Alex, which means that I can see people here on January 1st going, you know what, 2025 is going to be different. Maybe it's a year that I say no to some of the crappy stuff. Maybe I go and I figure out what my next step is. But you know, and I know what's going to happen next. They're going to go talk to their family and they're going to go, I got this great idea. And you know, your family, they want to help. They want to be comfortable. They want to be on your team, but they hear this. This sounds crazy to your family members. How do our entrepreneurs, our budding entrepreneurs present to their family? You know what? I'm going to be taking a risk on myself.
And by the way, I said entrepreneurs in this. And before he answers, I want to define this a little wider because I remember at American Express, I got this offer. And it was that I was going to get to help train people. And I remember talking to my dad about this. I'm like, I'm going to get to go train people. He goes, great. That sounds great, Joe. Congratulations. That's a promotion. I go, well, yeah. He goes, how much more does it pay? I said, $0. And he goes, that sounds dumb. You don't work that way. I go, no. I'm going to go into like 20 meetings a week instead of 10. And I'm going to learn so much. Now, on one hand, was I being taken advantage of? Maybe. But on the other hand, I did learn so much. I learned so much there. And I accepted that deal. I accepted the risk of that deal. So even internally, even though I said our entrepreneurs and budding entrepreneurs, if you're going to do something where you're sticking your neck out at work, your family's going to still tell you not to do that. So even though I said entrepreneur on the audio you just heard, this really is for any of the stuff that he talked about. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Because I think you went through this, didn't you?
Sure.
With your dad.
Yeah. You have to listen to the people who are closest to your goals, not closest to you. There's that famous Harvard study that found out that people's net worth was correlated with their reference group. Now, a lot of people mistakenly say it's the 5 people you spend the most time with, but I believe it's the 5 people you compare yourself to. Fundamentally, you could disprove it because Elon, he spends the most time with everybody who's poorer than him, so it can't be that. But who does he compare himself to? Now, for him, I think he compares himself to who you could be in the future, which sometimes that also can be the person that you can be. I think future you can be a part of your reference group. Like, who do I want to become? What does that guy do? I should do that today. And so I think fundamentally, the people that are in your surroundings, if they don't have what you want, don't listen to what they say. And I think it's hard to do because as humans, we're social creatures and we learn to listen to the opinions of others. When you're a child, you say, is this good or bad? And an adult says, that's good, that's bad. And you kind of incorporate it. And that's how you learn how to make your way in the world. And then you become an adult and you realize that some of the people who gave you your good and bad advice are actually morons. Because you meet them now and it's Doug and you're like, Doug's an idiot. I listened to Doug. It's like, well, I was 8 years old and I didn't know any better, right? And so you
Doug works in my mom's basement. He is an idiot.
Yeah.
Sorry, Doug.
Chief idiot. And so it's like you have to peel.
Chief idiot.
But I think honestly, a lot of adulthood is fundamentally unlearning things and choosing to know that you believe your beliefs for your own reasons. And so I think that if you cannot explain why you believe what you believe, it's not your belief, it's someone else's.
I love that Alex gave you a shout out. Chief idiot, Doug.
So I was kind of into Alex for the last episode and a half.
It just threw me when he said Doug. Like he just picks Doug out of the air. I didn't
say OG, so that's good.
It's a pretty funny moment.
Jackhole.
But guys, that is hard. It is hard to take the opinions of well-meaning people around you and go, thank you. But that doesn't apply. You don't have to say the second part. You know what I mean? Smile and say thank you, and then file it in the circular file.
I would say that it's equally as challenging to take the advice / opinions of the people that are at the goals that you're at, because it fundamentally requires you to have a leap of faith that you might not have yet. You know, like he said, you have $950,000 of stupid tax or whatever he called it, that you're paying to the universe for not making $1 million. If he said, here's how you need to run this business. Like, if I were in your shoes, here's what I would do. I bet that person goes, yeah, however, I get what you're saying, but you don't understand what's going on in my world. You don't know what's my market's like, where I'm from.
You and I had a discussion specifically, OG, about this after I left Alex, because our friend Seth, who helped us set this up, who works for Alex, Seth said, as soon as the recorder's off, he's just going to go into coaching mode. He's going to ask you all about stacking Benjamins, all about what you do. And he said, so what do you guys got going on? And I said, we have these guides, we have the stuff, we have this da-da-da. And he starts coaching me. And I literally, when he gave me a piece of advice that I called you and talked to you about, I went, yeah, you really don't know my market.
I don't remember what that was, but yeah, that's a great example of, I can think of many situations, both with the show and both with my firm, where people who were at what I deemed to be successful, they're like, hey, this is what you should do. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe you can do that, but it's not here. And it's funny to see it on the other foot, because I was having breakfast with a friend a couple of weeks ago who is kind of in a career change, and, and I said, well, what are you doing up here? He lives far away. And I said, what are you doing here? And he's like, look, you're further down the path on this than I am, and I trust what you have to say. Like, I just want to ask some questions. I mean, it's kind of this mentoring thing a little bit, but it was more breakfast, at a time crunch.
Did you ask him if you could get him coffee?
Yeah, I even paid. Because he's unemployed, so I felt guilty to do it. But anyways, I said, well, here's what I would do, and he goes, and he just looked at me, he goes, yeah, but wouldn't it be better to have like a bunch of $5,000 relationships than one $15,000? And I go, no, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. He's like, yeah, I know, but like where I'm from, and I'm like, no, it wouldn't. And it's funny because I see that same thing in that conversation as what happened 20 years ago in conversations with people who were above me. And you see it with conversations that you had with Alex about stacking Benjamins. And it's like, yeah, well, I mean, no, I see what you're saying. And it's always caged, right? It's like, no, I get it. But see, our market is, or the situation we have going on, and it's like immediately like, well, dude, don't ask me questions then. So I think it's equally challenging both to take advice for the people that you're trying to aspire to be, and also to not take advice from the people that are still kind of stuck where you are.
And going back to coaching, you and I get coaching from this group strategic coach that we reference a lot. And you told me this when I first joined OG. Sometimes you go to that meeting once a quarter and it's exactly what you need to hear, and it hits home. And there's other stuff a quarter later that you go, yeah, none of this applies to me. And then what's funny is maybe 6 months later, maybe a year and a half later, you go, oh, I totally get what they were doing.
We did something with that.
Yeah. But like to your point, the student,
when the student is ready,
needs to be ready. Yeah. Let's go back to Alex.
I'd like to borrow a question from Tim Ferriss, because I was curious about this as a guy that has really enjoyed your books. What books do you give to other people? What books do you tell people to read more than any others?
I don't. I mean, I say, read my books because I get a lot of entrepreneurs, but so I wrote them. I was like, I started answering the questions. I was like, go read. They're like, what should I sell? And I was like, read $100 million offers. And they're like, okay, I read it.
I'm tired of repeating myself.
Yeah. And then they were like, well, who do I sell it to? And I was like, okay, read $100 million leads. So I wrote the books to just not have to answer the question over and over again.
But you don't tell people, go read this, go watch this YouTube video, go do this.
I think you will learn significantly more taking action. And so like you will learn more from doing 100 cold calls and 100 door knocks than you will from reading all the sales books that are out there, because there's a very big difference between declarative knowledge, which is knowing about something, and procedural knowledge, which is knowing how to do something.
You see this in school all the time.
Yeah. You can learn about private equity and never have done a deal. And the day you do a deal, then you will learn procedural knowledge of how a deal actually works. And so I would beware of the people that you follow to make sure that they don't just have declarative knowledge. They can talk about stuff, but that they have procedural knowledge, which is that they've actually done it. And if you wish to have the latter, which I wish for you, then the only way that you can learn procedural knowledge is by doing it. And some things you can't learn without going through the fire.
My son learned this. He owns 14 rental houses. He's 29 years old. And he was very certain after he read some of the Bigger Pockets books that he knew exactly how to buy a house. Mm-hmm. And he will tell you now that he didn't know shit. He knew nothing about how to get the deal done. And I bet that was the same for you. Your first deal was probably a hell of a lot harder than any deal you did since.
Yeah. I mean, really, I just think about the first sale, Be the first everything. And so my encouragement would be to get the first one out of the way.
I want to stop right there, OG, because that's a huge point. No matter what you try to do, you're going to suck.
Well, that and the declarative knowledge thing. I could show you a text thread that's happened within the last 4 hours of a podcast episode that I mentioned. I have this group that we all kind of, bounce ideas off. Anyways, somebody found this podcast episode and was not ours, but a different one, and said, "Hey, have you listened to the such and such a thing? It's a cluster F." And basically it's the person who knows everything. And then as you dive into their history, but has done none of it, immediately it's like, okay, yep, we're not talking about that. You can know all the things in the universe. Your eloquent word for these people are, Joe?
Broke professors.
The broke professors, the people who know everything, but have done none of it. And no offense to professors.
The answer to this question blew me away, because I've heard Tim Ferriss ask so many of these academic people that know a ton about a ton, and they always play his game. Oh, I give this book. Oh, I like this book. And Hormozi's like, nope.
Yeah, go do it. Go knock on 100 doors and see what happens. Yeah.
I saw Doug, he had himself muted. Doug laughed when he heard Hormozi say that. Yeah, no, don't go read more. Just go get the bad stuff out of the way. And it is so valuable. You will learn so much.
Joe, that was one of the things I remember learning from you in the early days of this podcast, was your willingness to deliberately scrape your nose on the pavement as you were falling down, failing. Like, we're going to do this, but we're going to do it now because we know we're going to suck. And I want to get the suck out of the way right now so that we'll be better, faster as our audience is building.
If there was one thing I regret, it was waiting, because I thought we'd suck. And it was only, Doug, to your point, when I knew that the first episodes were going to be bad no matter what we did, that we finally got rolling. And I wish we had that year back. I think he's 100% right on here. Let's go back and finish up with Alex.
Get the loss out of the way, get the no out of the way, because you're going to have it. And I had a mentor tell me, he said, you got to lose $100 million to make $1 billion. You got to be willing to lose it. And I think that's like, you got to be willing to lose 100 to make 1,000. You got to be willing to lose 1,000 to make 10,000. And fundamentally it goes back down to risk, which is like, you have to be able to risk. And sometimes it means you just risk your time, which in the beginning is, hey, we're going to give with that expectation. That's risking your time. But you got to be willing to take risk. And most folks don't. And that's why they stay poor and they stay small and they stay insignificant.
The entrepreneurs here in the building today that are getting coaching from you guys.
Not coaching, to be clear.
Do they feel that fear? Is it feel the fear but do it anyway? Or do they push away the fear?
So first off, we don't do coaching. I just want to be clear. We have businesses that we invite out that if we're like, this is an interesting model, they might be a little bit too green for, portfolio for us, because we have relatively large companies. Well, relatively large. We have low mid-market. We say, these are the things that you need to fix about the business. Fundamentally, we operate everything off the theory of constraints, like I was referencing earlier, which is that every business there has something that limits them. And we rely on our ability to recognize patterns and have, having seen a lot of businesses in that particular space. Like if you're a roofer, we've seen 100 different roofing businesses. If you're in med spas, we've looked at 10 different med spa deals with different chains. We know the models, we know the comps, we know what works, knows what doesn't. And
you help people fix very specific problems.
Yeah. It's just like, we think, what is the most valuable version of this business? What does it look like? And what's the discrepancy between that business and what you have today? And then what is the single move that we can make that brings you the closest to that future, better version of your business? And we will do that one first. And I think one of the big things that people struggle with is they do not know how to prioritize. And the big part of prioritization is saying no, and they can't do it, especially once you develop a little bit of skill. In the beginning, you have no opportunity, so you're just trying to say yes to something, right? But as soon as you say yes, you learn this yes muscle, and you say yes to too many things. And so I spent an entire day with one of our portfolio companies. It does $110 million a year. It's a SaaS company, very, very big company. We spent the whole day going through all the different, strategic priorities. And I'm just like sitting there and like something just like felt off. And while they were talking at the very end, I just went up to the board and I wrote 1, 2, 3, and I wrote the first objective, and I just circled that. And I was like, this is all we need to do. The room got really quiet, and I was like, if we don't do this, nothing else matters. I spent a crazy amount of time trying to think about like, what is that one thing? Because if you can get really clear on that one thing, then you can do something that makes every one of your other goals relevant. And that was like for me in 2020 or 2019 when I started making content, it was like, if I just build a big brand in business, nothing else will matter. There is a one thing for you in your business or your career that if you just did this one thing, it would make everything else irrelevant. And I would just encourage people to just get really clear on that one thing and then basically do nothing else. Because I define focus as the quantity and quality of things that you say no to. If you think of the hypothetically most focused person on earth, they would do nothing but one thing. They wouldn't eat, they wouldn't sleep. They would, and obviously you run into, okay, well, you need to eat, you need to sleep. Okay, fine, you get those two. But again, we're just talking hypothetical. I'm not saying this isn't a prescription. I'm just saying hypothetical. If That person only played Diablo 4. That's all they did. They are focused. If all that guy did was sales, that guy is focused. A lot of people want to be focused and they want to be patient. They don't know how to do that. And so you stay focused by doing one thing and saying no to everything else. And you stay patient by figuring out what to do in the meantime between now and when you think your goals will happen. Just understanding that like patience is just figuring out what to do in the meantime.
I know he goes back to the one thing that he referenced earlier, but this time in context where now I think here at the end of the season, you can see the bridge between all of these. Patience, doing more, but doing just the right things, setting yourself this cadence, finding that one thing to do, staying focused, saying no to everything else. Now I think people can see this framework is way more simple that he's working off of, I think, than people thought at the beginning of this on Wednesday.
The more that you can simplify, I'm a simplifier. That's kind of my thinking anyways, but the more that you can get that all the stuff that you're doing in a particular thing to the easiest thing to do that has the biggest impact. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. I didn't say an easy thing. I said the easiest thing to do with the biggest impact. The better off your life is going to be, whether it's something business related or if it's health related. I mean, there's so 10,000 different ways to diet. Or you could just say, I'm not going to eat any bread. You know, if I don't eat any white carbohydrates, like what does that do? It like eliminates its calorie restriction. It's helps your glucose. You know what I mean? Like it does all of those things without having to keep track of it by going, I'm not eating rice, potatoes, or bread.
It also makes you hate life.
Well, if you like those things, it could.
I want a life worth living.
If you value your life, you probably will eat less of it. But you get the idea. It's like we build these business plans, or we build this career path, or we build the financial plan, or we do all these things, and they have 75 different pieces to it. And it's like, I appreciate his simplifier mindset of, okay, just go on the whiteboard and circle the one damn thing. Just do that. And then, in a year from now, do something different, but do that thing for the next 12 months and see how you feel.
Not even that, OG. If you're having trouble finding out what it is, put up those 10 things you're doing now and say, what's the one action I'm missing that's right in front of me that will eliminate these?
Yeah.
Is there some way that I can have a domino that makes this whole thing I'm trying to accomplish easier by doing just the one thing? Pretty wild.
Okay, that dude's a pretty smart guy. We could have him back. I'd allow it.
Let's finish it up with Alex here. You have this set of three things. I want to end our time together on these three. The first one is exactly what you just said. So nice job. The other two, though, you say, number one, focus, do one thing, which is clearly, I think, a great thing for us to think about in 2025. The second one you say is hire good people. And earlier you were talking about constraints. I'm assuming I should focus, Alex, for my own time, not on something that I'm mediocre at, probably what I'm badass at that nobody else is good at. Does that mean I hire somebody then to take care of the constraints? Because your second thing that you write about is hire good people.
Yeah. The unsexy answer is it depends. So if the constraint is people, that would be one thing. The constraint could be a skill, which is something that you can go get, and then that becomes the constraint. Fundamentally, identifying how to solve a constraint is how many resources will it take to do these alternative paths to get the outcome, and then an approximate value for how likely it is with each intervention. And so fundamentally, this is there's something called the RICE framework for software when they talk about prioritizing products, but I think it applies to just about anything, which boils down to risk-adjusted return. So it's like, what's the reach? How many customers does this affect? I is what's the impact? To what extent does it affect the customers? Confidence, which is C, which is how likely is it? And then E, which is expense, which is how much is it going to cost? If we think about this as, okay, I have this problem and there's 3 paths to solving it. Which one has the highest risk-adjusted return? Which one's the most likely to get? Because you might take all that time, all those interviews, all that onboarding, all that training, and then get somebody, and then they don't work out, and then you have to do it again. Versus maybe you learn the skill, and then you can do it in 5 hours a week. It depends on where you're at with your career and whether your return on time of like, okay, could I do those 5 hours doing something else and make more money? Then it would be worth doing that, right? And so that's why the unsexy answer is it depends on the resources you have and what returns you expect based on the interventions that you want to use.
Before we go on, I want to just clarify this too, because he's talking specifically to entrepreneurs, but OG, this is why people hire people to clean their house. This is why people might hire somebody to cut their lawn. They're like, I'm not paying for that. But if your return on investment is way above that, your ability to not have to deal with that is big. It can still be powerful. Somebody else to get your groceries.
Right. All of those things are things that, you have to evaluate personally, and what looks like something is an expense and unneeded in one person's life is a great use of resources in another's. To your point about hourly rate and that sort of thing. So
let's go to his third point.
And then the third one, and this is great because you know what's happening today for a lot of people. We're going to be fighting New Year's resolutions, right? That last 2 weeks. Your third tenet is think long-term. How do we make sure that we're setting up milestones to think long-term in 2025?
Man, you framed that question really well. I would almost answer with the question, which is that you can measure someone's skill in any domain by the quality and number of ways they can reward themselves for doing something. And so, for example, if I go to the gym and I'm a novice, I don't know how to do very much. And so the entire experience is not that fun. If you're a professional bodybuilder, there's a zillion things that you can do in the gym that are fun and interesting that you enjoy. If I'm an amazing video editor, if I get a raw piece of footage, there's 100 things I can think of to do this, and I get rewarded after each step very quickly. When you're a novice, you have fewer feedback loops, and they tend to be more distal. So they're further away from you. They're more like what happens at the end. So did the video do well or not? Whereas an expert can see 100 different things that we can improve in the video. The more skilled you become, the more patient you become, because you have more ways to win in the meantime. And so that is why skill can, in my opinion, make you more patient. The other piece, which is probably...
You're almost saying, I mean, you're talking about the gym, but what you're saying, Alex, I think is patience is a muscle.
I think skill, for sure. One of the encouraging things is that I actually don't think people become more patient. I think time moves faster. I mean, if you talk to a 5-year-old, it's like 1 year is 20% of their life. It's like, oh my God, if it's 20% of my life, I have to wait a year, right? And now, right, at 56, it's what it is, 2% or 3%, of your life right now. It's like, oh, it's 7 times faster. And so I'm not really sure that people actually get more patient as they get older. I just think time passes faster.
Alex Hormozi, thank you so much for being our first mentor at 2025. You set a high bar, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And it's funny, I asked him about being more patient, and he talks about building skill. Build skills, stack skills in 2025, stackers, and then realize it's not about what you know, it's about what you do. Use that to negotiate, and you're off and running.
Okay.
Big thanks to Mr. Hormozi. I know Doug's going to say this later, but big thanks to him because, OG, hopefully people have notepads as full as yours and mine today.
Yeah, I'm on page 4. So, so far so good on the remarkable tablet.
Yeah. 97 days left of the trial, and sounds like it's going pretty well.
So far so good.
I don't know, Joe. I don't know if I'm going to say really great things about Alex in the takeaways.
All because one character, Doug, that he doesn't even know happens to say the wrong name.
Or
Alex,
does he?
Or does he? Of course he knows, right? Doug, lots of takeaways, but what would be our top 3?
Well, Joe, first, do more. But by more, we mean focus on those core activities that can eliminate 5 other tasks that are either a waste of time or have a smaller ROI. Second, use skill stacking to your advantage. What do you love? Build on that stack and use it to increase your piece of the pie, because you now have skills that others don't. But the big lesson? 2025 is truly going to be a different year after those 2 episodes. Buckle up, everybody, because we're going to all be rocket ships now. Special thanks to Alex Hormozi and his Las Vegas-based team for helping make our 2025 kickoff possible, especially the amazing Seth Silvers. You'll find more on Alex at acquisition.com.
This show is the property of SB Podcasts, LLC, copyright 2024, and is created by Joe Saul-Sehy. Joe gets help from a few of our neighborhood friends. You'll find out about our awesome team at stackingbenjamins.com, along with the show notes and how you can find us on YouTube and all the usual social media spots. Come say hello. Oh, yeah, and before I go, not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show.